we start with spot checks, Commissioner? When will they start and what will they involve?
We'll be undertaking random checks on behalf of health, and also we'll be targeting people we believe are presenting a risk to general community safety. We'll be advised by health of the people that require this type of focus, and that commences today. We'll have uniformed police officers who will be undertaking those visits.
Commissioner, do you have the necessary resources to do the level of spot checks that are going to be required over coming days, weeks and potentially months?
Well, it's a reality that we don't have the capacity to check on everybody that's returned from an overseas trip and is required to self-isolate, but we will be using intel processes to identify the right people to make visits to, and also we'll be doing random visits so that everybody who has returned has an expectation there's a possibility they'll be checked in terms of their compliance.
Do you think it's appropriate that this responsibility falls to SAPOL and not potentially another agency when it comes to...
No, I think it's entirely appropriate. This is one way that we can support the general effort to ensure community safety. Health are doing significant work to identify these people. We're supporting that process as well, and it's well within our responsibilities to follow up on these people to make sure they're complying. So this is about do we have the resources?
Should it fall on SAPOL to be able to do these spot checks?
This is clearly an obligation for SAPOL. We're working closely with health to identify the right people, and we're also assisting in the process of tracking those people who have returned from overseas. This is one of those areas where SAPOL can contribute to making sure that all agencies are doing what they can to ensure that minimise the impact of this virus.
Can you walk us through a spot check? What does it involve and what penalty? Are they likely?
Well, at this point in time, we won't be disclosing process, but all we will say is that we'll be doing random checks, so visiting people who have returned from overseas and are required to self-isolate, and we'll also be targeting people we believe may present a more significant risk to the community.
How many do you think you'd be required to do?
Well, we'll determine that based on our work with health in relation to the types of people we believe need this sort of visit. We won't disclose numbers at this stage, but we'll make sure that what we do is of significant magnitude to have a positive impact.
And will officers be required to wear PPE during the process as well?
We'll be using uniformed police officers in the first instance, but we'll also be doing a risk assessment, and where we believe it's appropriate based on advice from health, we'll be providing the necessary PPE for those more high-risk situations.
We understand you were getting a COVID unit together, or recruiting for one. Have you got one now?
What do you mean a COVID unit?
I understand you were recruiting for officers that would be specified to COVID tasks.
We do have a group of specially trained officers to attend to those circumstances where we believe the risk is greater. That training is in relation to the proper use and decontamination of protective equipment.
Any questions for us?
Yes.
This is random, and it could be utter rubbish, but
Possibly.
we've been told about people posing as sanitising teams, cleaning teams that are going to houses in some suburbs, including Croydon, and hitting them up and then cleaning, literally stealing everything, telling people they go. Have you heard about that?
No, I've not been advised of any reports of that nature, and I'm sure I would have been told about that if it were occurring. I do understand that PIRSA were doing some fruit fly inspections using protective equipment, so there may be some confusion in that regard.
Commissioner, on the decision to cease operations of RVTs for the moment, what's your message to the community? It's sort of counterproductive if you're saying we're not going to be doing these full testing stations, considering the importance of breath testing?
Look, it was a decision not taken lightly to stop static alcohol testing, but we assess the risks associated we assess the risk to our people in relation to having close contact with significant numbers of the community, and also the perceptions that may prevail as a result of police officers testing for alcohol. We made the decision that block testing would not continue, but we are still committed to mobile random breath testing, and every police officer, every police car is able to pull over any driver at any time and do a mobile alcohol test, and we will be doing that. We'll be actually stepping up our efforts in that regard, and we're looking at other enforcement measures we can put in place to remind people of their obligations around road safety.
And considering some of the behaviour we've seen at supermarkets in particular in recent weeks, is it time to step up police presence potentially at major shopping centres?
Look, we're closely monitoring behaviour and activity around shopping centres. We have included that as part of our general patrol activity, is to keep an eye on those shopping centres which are being inundated with people. At this point in time, we've had no reports of any disappointing behaviour. It's disappointing that people are resorting to this sort of panic buying, and I think the message is quite clear that it's unnecessary. But we are keeping an eye on shopping centres to make sure that people are behaving in accordance with our expectations.
So you have stepped up patrols?
We are paying attention as a part of our normal patrol duties.
Generally, will you be restricting the number of arrests and giving more bail summonses?
Each particular circumstance must be assessed on its own merits, taking into account the risk. We have an obligation to perform our duty, and that is to detect offenders and take necessary action. That necessary action will include arresting, and we are looking at how we ensure our people can do so safely, making sure they have access to the right equipment to do so, and we're still working through that. I think everyone can appreciate that this is a very complex foreign scenario for all of us, and it changes the way we do our business, and we are stepping through that, and we're working with advice from health to make sure that our people can do their job as safely as possible.
Will you require help from the army?
At this point in time, we don't have any expectations that we're going to require any outside assistance. We are putting a lot of effort into making sure that we can maintain a frontline capability and provide the community safety obligations that we're required to do.
In holding cells, are you changing the number of people that can be in there with this close proximity?
We have a mechanism in place. We have a pandemic plan for how we manage our prisoners, and that's been activated now to ensure that the prisoners are safe and our staff working in our custody suites are safe as well.
What are you doing anything differently when it comes to just a random arrest, an everyday arrest? Are you doing anything differently to protect your people?
As I said, we're working through the processes for that to make sure that we can still fulfil our obligations so that people are held to account for their behaviour, but our police officers can do so safely.
Just back on those prisoners, sorry, what do you mean by that? What's different about?
We're applying proper hygiene protocols. We're cleaning the facilities more frequently, social distancing, and assessing the risk associated with each prisoner, and that determines where they'll be held during that time.
Okay, thanks ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks,
See you.
Matt.